It is an honor to have Arizona Lithium Managing Director Mr. Paul sitting with us today during this busy reporting period to provide updates of the company's March quarter. Welcome, Paul, and thank you for joining us again.
Thank you, Steph. It's good to see you again.
Great. And to start with, could you please help us to summarize the news announced during the March quarter or what have been completed by Arizona during the quarter?
Yes, the March quarter for Arizona Lithium was a very exciting one. Mainly because we finalised the acquisition of Prairie Lithium during that quarter. And that came along with the management team, but most importantly, 4.1 million tonnes of lithium carbonate equivalent in a brine material in Canada, in the province of Saskatchewan. And at 4.1 million tonnes, that is a world-class resource. It compares very favourably with listed companies such as Lake Resources, and we believe we can grow that resource. So it's very much a world-class resource, and we're focused on that project together with our Big Sandy project, and our Big Sandy project being a sedimentary lithium project, very different, but one that there isn't any production from that area of the market, but there will be when Thacker Pass comes into production. I think that the brine project that we've acquired through Prairie is the future for the lithium industry. And when direct lithium extraction is successfully commercialised, I think that will produce a lot of lithium in the Western world that will fill the massive deficit for that commodity. EV revolution is not changing at all. I go to Arizona a lot. You see a lot more cars on the road, and then the renewable energy space is expanding massively. So we see that the deficit from a supply point of view for lithium, either carbonate or hydroxide, lasting 8 to 10 years. So we are definitely in the right place at the right time. In addition, during the quarter, we continued with the development of the Lithium Research Centre in Tempe, Arizona, and that construction of the Lithium Research Centre, which we shortened to the LRC, has gone along very well in the quarter. We have implemented the extensive lab there at the LRC, and that is a world-class lab with the most current technology in regards to the measurement of lithium materials. And as our shareholders could imagine, that is very important. As you build a pilot plant, you need to know what grade your material is coming in, what grade it is in a secondary processing material, and then what final grade is coming out of your pilot plant. So now that the lab has been commissioned, we then turn our attention to building the pilot plant at the LRC, and most of the equipment has been ordered and it is coming in progressively. So the next quarter we should be able to complete construction of the pilot plant and then commence taking of a bulk sample from the Big Sandy project and actually started processing the material and producing a lithium carbonate. So that'll be a very exciting milestone for us. The facilities there in Arizona are very large. We find that a lot of lithium industry participants want to have a look at the Lithium Research Centre, and so it has lifted our profile within the industry, and it really is cutting edge for lithium processing in the world, basically, but predominantly in North America.
True. There's a lot of things going on. So actually post the March quarter, we have seen another news regarding Prairie project, which is a test result from the test well. So could you please talk about the resulting details?
Yes. So Prairie, during the period of completion, drilled an additional well at their project. This is a very large resource, but it's also a very large area of land in the Williston Basin in Saskatchewan. I was out there more recently, and this area is very flat farming ground. It's a historic oil and gas producing region of Canada, and so everyone is very familiar with what we are doing. And what we did was we re-entered an existing oil and gas well and deepened that hole so that we went down into the aquifer that produces the lithium, the Dupro formation. And the results coming out of that well has enabled us to reassess our resource and start working immediately on upgrading that resource. The grades were very encouraging, and it showed that the grade is very consistent now over a 27-kilometre distance. So we also proved that the flow rates were better than expected. So when you've got a lithium brine project, you are extracting lithium enriched water from the depths, taking it to surface, filtering it through a type of direct lithium extraction material, and then pumping that material back down into another aquifer, more than likely a shallower or possibly even a deeper aquifer. So if shareholders can think about an oil and gas well, the infrastructure at surface is very small when you're utilising direct lithium extraction. And as I mentioned previously, direct lithium extraction has not been commercialised 100% right at this moment, but there's a lot of groups that are talking about that. And it's only a matter of time until one of these companies starts producing large quantities using direct lithium extraction. It's a very environmentally friendly process because you don't have large evaporative ponds, and all you're doing is bringing the material to surface, filtering it, and re-injecting it back into another aquifer. So I see that as a growth in the industry, of the lithium industry. And by the testing that we did more recently, it shows that we have a much larger resource than we had initially thought. So we're going through the process of upgrading that resource, and we've also commenced a preliminary economic assessment. So the timing on that, and I'm sure all shareholders will ask, timing on all these type of initiatives would be something like 3 to 6 months. And we're starting, that's our high priority, together with direct lithium extraction. Part of the acquisition with Prairie was their proprietary direct lithium extraction technology. And that is a very interesting technology that they have, and we want to fine-tune that for the Prairie brine. If we could utilise our own technology, that would be first prize. But we also want to run in tandem the evaluation of third-party DLE suppliers, because if we could find one that worked perfectly for our brine, we would utilise that and monetise that massive resource that we have in Canada as quick as possible into a market that is really screaming for product. So we are very busy with the DLE, and we're very busy with the resource calculations, recalculations, and the preliminary economic assessment. So a lot of work in Canada, and we have a good team there in Canada working hard, but we haven't forgotten about our Big Sandy lithium project. And I was the vendor of that project, so I'm very passionate about that project. And we're hoping to get drilling approvals in a very short period of time. I expect it to be in this quarter, and then we'll be back out drilling, increasing our resource. Our resource at the moment at that project is 320,000 tonnes of LCE, which is equivalent to about a 12-year mine life. I want to get out there and drill another 145 holes over about an 18-month period and increase that mine life to north of 50 years. So once we get to that stage, we'll stop drilling, and we should be at a sort of a DFS stage and construction. So exciting times ahead as well for the Big Sandy project, and we really need those drilling approvals and also the Lithium Research Centre to basically fine-tune the processing methodology for that Big Sandy project. We have a lot of people working hard, and this is a very exciting industry that's radically expanding. So it's a great and exciting to be part of that industry.
So you mentioned that we can expect an upgrade of JORC resources from Prairie Lithium project. So can you provide somehow like any peer comparisons can be given for both lithium concentrations and well flow for better demonstrating the results?
Yeah, it was a good question, Steph. That in the lithium brine space, you can quote a very high number for the grade, so the milligrams per litre. The Prairie project averages out at 111 milligrams per litre. Now, that is kind of not the highest grade in the industry, but not the lowest either. But most importantly, the issue with a brine project is the flow rate. So how much of the material can you bring to surface and not damage the reservoir? So the Dupro Formation and the Williston Basin is one that has a lot of volume that can be taken from that without damaging the reservoir. So if you talk about producing large quantities of material, you need a lot of brine material brought to surface. So we will have to pump a larger quantity, but we know our reservoir is very strong. So therefore, we won't be damaging that reservoir, and we can be pumping that material for a huge number of years in the future. So if we compare grades, we're a little bit lower than some of the projects in the US, but we have looked at that from an economic point of view, and we'll incur a little bit more in electricity costs with the pumping of more volume of material. But we will have a reservoir that quickly replenishes. And so it's a combination, if I've explained that correctly, between grade and the production rates, the volume of material that you can bring to surface. So you need to have both. We happen to have both, so we're a very enviable position.
Overall, it's a very potential, like a huge scale project from the brine lithium project.
Yes, when I was in Canada recently, I met with the Resources Minister in Saskatchewan. He knows of the project, he's very encouraging of the project, and he knows that in that area there's a large number of lithium brine projects that can go into production very quickly because it is a historic oil and gas producing region. And I happened to leave there very early, and it was minus 21. And the plane had to be de-iced. So it's an area that they're all very used to the cold there and operating oil and gas facilities. But for a person from the warm weather of Australia, it was a little bit surprising how cold it gets there. But it won't have any problem with it won't affect the operation of the brine project, that temperature. It can all be dealt with.
That sounds pretty good. So we can see a lot of work is currently underway on each project, including Big Sandy, Prairie, as well as the research center around Phoenix. So can you help us to see what kind of news flows we can expect in June quarter and in next 6 months?
Yes. So one of the significant ones, obviously, is the approvals for drilling and getting our drill rig back out to the Big Sandy project in Arizona and increasing the mine life on that project. I'm very much looking forward to getting those approvals and getting back out drilling. The Prairie project, the significant news flow item there is definitely the upgrading of the resource. We have a world-class resource there. If we can upgrade that resource from this third hole that we drilled more recently, then that would be a significant event for that project and for our company. In addition, we have started the preliminary economic assessment, and that will provide numbers for the analysts and other sophisticated shareholders to evaluate what sort of return on equity we can get from the Prairie project, and I think that they'll be very surprised. In addition, we have commenced the process of NASDAQ listing, and we have started that work, and I expect to list the company on the NASDAQ before the end of the year. So we have our corporate team working on that, and we've got some announcements to go out fairly soon in regards to that. So I'm heading off to New York next month to do a broker roadshow, and given that we have 2 North American focused projects that have large resources, we will get a very good reception in the US, and I hope to build the market cap of the company via the NASDAQ listing and the fast tracking of the two development projects for lithium. And it's very well understood in the US where lithium production comes from, and the fact that there's virtually no lithium production inside the US. And our shareholders would have read a lot about President Biden encouraging the industry, and that is real and it's happening. And we will be applying for some of those grants in the future as we fast track the development of the two projects. Canada has been very proactive with their lithium industry, particularly on the East Coast. We look forward to developing their lithium industry in the Prairie sort of area, more towards the west, with our Prairie project.
Wow, a very strong pipeline for the development of the Arizona lithium in the forward year. Very busy.
Yes, and we're very North American focused, and we'll remain that way, and hence the NASDAQ listing.
Wow, exciting. Thank you, Paul, for your time, and we look forward to seeing you again and sharing all those information you just mentioned soon later in the next few months. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Steph. Have a great day.